When we talk about the culture war, one of the key aspects in the tribal division is authoritarian versus libertarian. And I recently did a political compass test and an 8 values test because people asked. So I showed my political compass test, left libertarian, look how far down and to the left I moved. And everybody said, no, Tim, you've got to show us your 8 values test because that's better. And apparently I'm what's called a social liberal. You can see that I am more for equality than the free market. That actually kind of surprised me, but I'm relatively centrist on the issue. Overwhelmingly world versus nation, diplomatic access peaceful. More significantly for liberty, 2/3 for liberty, 1/3 for authority. Authority exists, there's a reason for it, but for the most part progressive. Social liberal, right? So pretty much typical liberal, I guess, except I don't know, I guess I'm not insane, and that's why you can be a social liberal with progressive values and not be an authoritarian dick. Anyway, why do I bring up authoritarianism? Well, it's the story you just saw in the beginning. Teens who laughed, recorded man's drowning death won't be charged. So, this is a story about, you got 5 teenagers who were charged with a crime for failing to help a drowning man last year, and they won't be charged. The drowning captured on video shocked Central Florida and sparked debate in the state legislature. We're, in the video, the kids were saying, we're not going to help your expletive, shouldn't have got in, let him drown, what the heck. The teens could be heard yelling on the cell phone footage. Apparently, a guy walked into the water and then started dying. The kids filmed it and laughed, and people were upset about it. So, apparently what happened was, after 11 months of considering and investigating, State Attorney Phil Archer said, unfortunately, Florida law does not address this behavior, and we are ethically restrained from pursuing criminal charges. If the legislature wishes to criminalize the conduct in this case, then new legislation will be required. It says the 5 teens, 4 minors and 1 adult, were not arrested at first, but later were charged with violating an obscure law titled Failure to Notify the Medical Examiner of Death. Okay. They then say, I feel like some kind of law should be pushed forward because how could you just sit there and watch someone die and then take it as a joke? The legislature considered passing such a law in the wake of the drowning, but the law died amid concerns it would make 911 calls unusable in prosecuting criminal cases. This really scared me. This story should be a red flag to a lot of people. That they consider you to be under an obligation to risk your life to help someone else. I mean, look, these kids are laughing, yeah, they're dicks, and I think the reason they wanted to prosecute them was because of the callousness of the attitudes of these teenagers. But think about the ramifications of that. What if somebody's on fire? What if someone's in a burning building and you sat there and you said, I'm not going in there? Are they going to say, well, then you're under arrest because you should have gone in and saved them? You shouldn't be forced to put your life on the line. I mean, it's rather crazy. And what's particularly crazy is that they were actually arrested for it. Look, I think these kids are dicks, but it's particularly worrisome to me that we're constantly having discussions about what people should or shouldn't be allowed to do, what they should or shouldn't be allowed to say. A big part of the discussions we've had are over free speech, the right to expression. This story, probably not that big of a deal, and the law didn't pass, right? It says the legislature considered passing a law, it died amid concerns. But whenever I see something like this, it worries me about the move towards authoritarianism. And if something like this is passed, combine that with the other conversations that are being had in free expression, the right to bear arms, the right to due process, it's really scary. And I guess I'll light note, you know, Donald Trump mentioned recently that we should get people out of the country without a hearing, and I'm going to tell you exactly why that's wrong and why this is somewhat related to that. And it's the idea that in the Constitution we have a right to due process. With the Title IX stuff on college campuses, they're getting rid of due process, sort of. I know it's not a court of law, it's a university hearing, but people have a right to, you know, to due process, to be innocent until proven guilty, confront their accuser, all of that good stuff. The problem with, you know, Donald Trump saying just get him out of the country without a hearing is that what if somebody is picked up without their ID on them and ICE just says, you're not American, end of story? No, they need a hearing so that that's what the Constitution is for, to protect American citizens. If you're an American citizen and you're walking along the Canadian or Mexican border or something like that, and a Border Patrol guy or ICE says, I don't believe you, prove it, and you can't, they arrest you, what are they going to do? They're going to send you to Mexico or Canada because they assume that's where you're from, even if you're an American citizen? That's what a hearing is for. That's why you have a right to stand a trial, to prove, you know, they have to prove your guilt first. So, I don't look. There have been stuff said. There's been things said by Trump that I think worry me. I think the drone strikes, the Saudi weapons deal, the Syria strikes. Come on, man. The recent statement. It's all worrisome as we focus on avoiding authoritarianism and the encroachment of authoritarianism in this country. And this story was something I found interesting. So anyway, yeah, thanks for hanging out. Stay tuned. There might be a video in half an hour.